the video still on, maybe?
Is the mic, can everybody hear me now? Yeah, all right. Woo. Hi, everyone. Welcome to IGF2025. My name is Zach Lampel. I am Senior Legal Advisor and Coordinator for Digital Rights at ICNL, the International Center for Not-for-Profit Law. I believe my colleague and friend Ellie has already introduced all of the speakers today. So again, I just wanted to welcome you all to this session where we will be strategizing on how civil society can make WSIS plus 20 work for us and work to improve, protect, and promote digital rights for everyone around the world. So the idea is really to spend just a few minutes at the beginning, taking stock of where we are and looking at what is coming up over the next 6 months as the WSIS plus 20 gets renegotiated or negotiated. And then we'll split into breakout groups where we can have really deep dive and in-depth discussions on the messages that we all want to put out and send out and advocate for with our partners, our communities, and our governments. So with that, I will turn it over to Anna for her presentation. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Zach, and hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. It's a funny thing because this is very high-tech at the IGF, but I'm usually quite low-tech. My name is Anna Oosterlink, and I work for Article 19, which is a local to global free speech organization working across the globe trying to promote freedom of expression and related rights. I'm going to start off by sort of situating us in the process right now of the WSIS plus 20 review process, which has been ongoing for a little bit. But where are we today? So on the 20th of June, which was last Friday, the co-facilitators of the process, of the WSIS plus 20 review process, the permanent representatives in New York of Albania and Kenya, issued what they call an elements paper. And if you're like me, you read this on the plane ride over, coming here, trying to understand what's in this paper. Now, it's an elements paper. What does that really mean? It means it's a list of issues that they've heard when they were going through their consultations with member states, of course, but also with stakeholders. And perhaps you were one of the few people being able to speak during the consultations with multi-stakeholders on the 9th and 10th of June, which was online. And you've raised your issues. Now, what is now in this elements paper? So the idea is that it's a list of issues. It is not yet a zero draft, or it's not yet the first draft of the outcome document that will conclude this WSIS plus 20 review process. It's important to be aware of that because a lot can still change, which can be a positive, maybe also negative. In terms of the actual review paper, issues paper, and what's in there, I'm not going to give you a detailed analysis of this. There's a lot of issues in there. I think it's important everyone from their own perspective looks at it and considers it. But I just wanted to raise a few things for you to consider as we're going later into breakout groups to kind of walk through this and discuss amongst each other. There's an introduction section, which sort of sets out the overall picture. And then there are a number of sections. There's a section on ICT for development. There's one on digital economy, social and cultural development, environmental impacts, bridging digital divides, and the enabling environment, and financial mechanisms, which are the first few sections. They talk about the issues, the progress made, the issues, and they invite for input. Then there's a section on human rights and ethics, which I really ask for you to look at because that's a bit of a lighter section. Then it goes into building confidence and security, which it refers to, amongst other things, to the UN Cybercrime Convention. And then it talks about internet governance. There again, I invite you to take a good look. There's some old language in there, which refers sort of the multi-stakeholder governance model is a little bit missing in action there. And then it moves to some of the newer issues that the COFAX will have heard, the data governance, artificial intelligence, and something that's really important for a lot of people, capacity building. And then it ends with monitoring and measurement. So in terms of thinking about what to do is have a look at the issues that are important to you. bearing in mind that we're trying to progress the WSIS plus 20, we're trying to progress the WSIS agenda, right, which was originated 20 years ago. So try to think about progressive language where we can make achievements and move forward. The co-facilitators have asked for inputs into the elements paper. There's an online form that you can fill out, which asks about the achievements that you see, the challenges that you see remaining, the priorities for actions. Do you see anything missing here? And do you have any specific comments? This is by the 15th of July. I invite you all to fill out this online form. And also to let you know that on Wednesday morning, the co-facilitators will organize an open consultation for anyone here at the IGF. So that's another place where you can go and raise your questions and thoughts. This is just to kind of give you a bit of food for thought. If you haven't read it, skim it now, and I will pass on to my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Pardon me. Hi, everyone. My name is Ellie McDonald, and I work for Global Partners Digital. We're a civil society and human rights organization working to ensure that human rights underpins the digital environment. But today I'm speaking on behalf of the Global Digital Rights Coalition for WSIS. So I'll just share briefly a little bit about the coalition and the priorities that we bring to the review process. So the GDRC WSIS evolved slowly into being from October last year. We're a group of human rights and civil society organizations grown from the global north and south, offering our shared expertise to ensure a WSIS review anchored in international human rights law and built upon meaningful multi-stakeholder engagement. We've agreed on 3 core priorities as a coalition. These are the basis for our work. However, we really welcome this session as an opportunity to discuss and elaborate on them. So these priorities are, first, to promote a human rights-based as well as a people-centric, sustainable and development-oriented approach to the WSIS review. For us, this means ensuring that policy responses are grounded in international human rights law, especially in areas including surveillance, censorship, internet governance, and discrimination online, areas where we've seen that government responses can be not consistent with international human rights law. Like Anna, I don't want to prejudge too much the elements paper, but I will say that the language is not always consistent with international human rights law with respect to those areas. Because of our first aim, we also want to promote regulation aligned with international human rights law and avoiding the normative gaps that we see in other legislation. So, for instance, excluding military applications or private sector applications from scope. We also wish to formally recognise the role of OHCHR and the other UN human rights bodies and the wealth of interpretive guidance that they bring to the regulation of digital technologies. Our second priority is to advance the multi-stakeholder approach in internet governance and to extend it to digital policy processes. Critically, this means reaffirming and applying in practice the Sao Paulo multi-stakeholder guidance. We think they offer really practical and useful guidance for how multi-stakeholder approaches can be applied in both multilateral as well as multi-stakeholder processes. And finally, our third priority is to strengthen the WSIS vision and its institutions like the IGF. This includes ensuring that WSIS isn't subsumed by other, more centralizing processes. It means implementing new policy frameworks like the Global Digital Compact through the WSIS institutions and ensuring the continued existence of the IGF as a multi-stakeholder forum in the context of shrinking civic space. Something that is, the importance of the IGF is currently recognized in the elements paper, but it doesn't yet make any policy proposals related to it. As mentioned, we're an evolving coalition, so we really welcome that we have this space today to talk through these ideas in a bit more depth. With that, I think I'm handing over to Nandini.
Hi, I hope you can all hear me. My name is Nandini. I work with IT for Change, and IT for Change acts as the secretariat of the Global Digital Justice Forum, which is a coalition of civil society organizations from across the global south and their allies in the global north. And the forum is trying to work on multi-pronged action that will realize the vision of an equitable, just, and development-oriented international digital order. So, in the context of the WSIS Plus 20 review, the GDJF members, APC and IT for Change, coordinated a campaign on Digital Justice Now, a call to action for WSIS Plus 20 and beyond, where the attempt was to speak with civil society organizations and people's movements, not just working on digital rights, but also traditional development domains and issues pertaining to food sovereignty, the universal right to health, ecological sustainability, workers' rights, gender justice, and so on, with an attempt to see what is it that we seek out of this year of the Plus 20 review and other emerging institutional mechanisms on data and AI governance, and what would it take to bring in a human rights and structural justice vision back at the center. So the details of this campaign are like in a brochure that I have put out there on the table behind, and you could check that out. And we also have voices and testimonies from across different groups in the world, which you can check out on our website, globaldigitaljusticeforum.net. But what I would just now very quickly do is to talk about some of the agenda of the campaign, which becomes very critical in the context of civil society thinking around the elements paper and the things that are emerging in WSIS Plus 20 review as policy priorities. So the campaign basically talks about 4 agenda. So the first agenda is about ensuring that we have an integrated and indivisible human rights framework adequate to the digital paradigm. The elements paper does mention that the same rights that people have offline must also be protected online. But in the current context, it's important to move beyond this by looking at the rights of those who are affected by data extractivism but may not be on the internet or maybe not being online. So an expanded idea of what human rights means for all people in the data and AI value chains. And what would it mean to seek corporate accountability in a transnational digital context for enforcement of these rights? The second agenda is about ensuring that we preserve the internet as a global communication commons, and this would include universal and meaningful connectivity for all, and ensuring we no longer end up with walled gardens. The third agenda would be a very critical priority in the context of climate change, talking about a sustainable digital transition that safeguards the rights of future generation. And finally, a just and international economic order that addresses digital inequality. The elements paper in its new sections of data and AI capabilities talks about a trust-based data flows regime, but we believe that we must move beyond this demand to a data flows with rights regime, which ensures that people of the global south are not integrated on adverse terms into an extractivist data economy, but people have control over their data resources and its use. We are also concerned that reforms to IP and trade regimes that creates an enabling environment for AI capability development in the global south must become a critical WSIS implementation issue. And finally, there is a lot of reference to AI capabilities and a turn to, an urge for blended and private financing. But in the current context, when sovereign debt of countries in the global south are at an all-time high, we think that it's critical to talk about having international public financing for connectivity, DPIs, data and AI capabilities in the global south, and greater integration between financing for development processes and WSIS processes, which currently that's not the case. And I think that, we all look forward to having a collective discussion on what it would mean to reclaim the WSIS vision grounded in the UN Charter, Sustainable Development, and human rights in the complex and challenging context we inhabit right now. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So now it's time to self-select, sort of, and break out into our breakout groups. We're hoping for around 10 to 15 people in each breakout group. Before we move into breakout groups, just wanted to quickly go over some sort of 3 guiding questions for each group to consider. The first is, if you've had a chance to read the elements paper, what do you agree with? What's missing? What else needs to be included in the elements paper? And if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, that's okay too. The second question is, given the digital rights and justice related demands that we heard presented earlier, what resonates most with you? What are your top 3 priorities for the WSIS plus 20 review outcomes? And then the final question is, what's missing? What are some of the rights and justice related agendas that are important to you and your communities that have so far been left out, either in the elements paper or in the different coalitions and ideas that have been presented thus far? And are you willing to share 2 or 3 priorities that you want to see on the agenda? The idea is that from these breakout groups, we will be able to put together a consolidated list of civil society's visions for the WSIS plus 20 review. And that will enable and empower all of us to, as Anna said, give our input in a very clear, articulate, and coordinated way so that the member states who are negotiating WSIS plus 20 know what we want to see, and we're better able to advocate for these positions. So with that, we just have 15 or 20 minutes or so for breakout groups. So if I could ask sort of one group to come up here in the front corner, a second group, everyone's gonna have to move a little bit, but that's okay. Second group in the front corner to my left, your right. One group in the far back corners, one to the right, one to the left. And if we need to have a group right in the center around, I think that's, Ellen, I don't have my glasses on, in the center. Maybe we could have a 5th group right in the center. So I could ask everyone to do a little bit of moving around, enter your breakout groups, and we'll be around to help facilitate the discussions. Thank you.